This is the legal challenge that Michael Charles is going to be, what would you call it?
Michael Charles is the official solicitor instructed. So he's the official solicitor running it.
Okay, so he's the official solicitor, and you can go and read the whole thing. It explains what it's about, but it's really looking at human rights and how that comes into play, and not so much comes into play, but how it's breached by the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act, and it's challenging that. So it's a very, very interesting thing to be doing, and the governments had to also respond. And I read that response, but it was a while ago now, so I can't remember anything it said. But there was a response, and I'm sure there's an update on this page as well. It is at 33,000 now, but potentially we need a lot more money if this is going to really have impact and be able to go the full distance that it needs to go. We want those that are leading this to know that they've got our support. We want them not to have to fret and worry about finances, because the outcome of this could have huge ramifications for us. If it is a successful challenge, it means big changes actually to the Act. And I don't think anyone has a problem with some very necessary changes to that Act. So please, if you can, go ahead and go and support this crowdfunder. Share it with your friends as well. Share it with anyone who's interested. Share it in your home education groups. You can read everybody's comments there, just saying how they want to support this. And there's a lot of us, there's a lot of home educators out there, and we don't actually need to donate a lot for this to have an impact, for this to be a huge amount of money that can fight this very, very important legal battle. Share that wherever you can. Remind people who might have forgotten. And this thing is ongoing, so if you gave last month, maybe give something this month. Every little bit is going to help it creep up and up and up. By the way, please make sure your children are fed and your bills are paid. Okay, but if your bills are paid and your children are fed and you have £5 that you can donate, that could make a huge, huge difference. So thank you to everyone who has donated already, and please encourage others and remind them about this. All the information is on the website, and if you follow Michael Charles, there's a lot of talk about it there as well.
Because the minimum amount is £5, if you could locally group together lots of £1 and donate through one person to help out, then please do, because we can't be in all the local groups asking for you to all put £1 in. So we need you to sell cakes, sell bookmarks, or sell whatever, then raise the funds and get them in to help boost this up.
Yes, because we can encourage you as a group. If you've got a home education group in your area, you can all get together and maybe hold a raffle or something like that, some simple competition to where people are paying something in, or as Amy says, sell cakes or wash cars or whatever. Maybe do a group car wash, and you all wash cars, and that money goes towards the legal challenge, and maybe some of it goes towards your group. Actually, washing cars is a great way to stay cool in this weather. So maybe that's something to think about as a group. So yeah, I just want to keep pushing this one as long as it is running. We need to keep pushing it as much as possible and sharing it everywhere, please. The next story is something that has been put together by our good friend Randall Hardy, who's a long in the tooth home educator, as he would say himself. His children are all grown up. He's a granddad, but he is very passionate about families and the rights of families and the rights of parents to be free to choose how you educate your children. He and his wife did quite a lot of work in their local council with the councillors, meeting with the councillors to change their attitudes, to change their hearts and their minds about home education, to inform them and engage with them. And off the back of that, Randall felt that it would be really important for us to have a toolkit, a way which we can engage with our counsellors and offer them a means by which they can actually look at how home education is handled in the area, how children missing education is handled in the area. So there's also a little video of Randall explaining how to do this. The idea is that you engage with your local counsellors, you get to know them. A lot of them are new as well. And you share this information with them about how they can go and have a look at how home education and CME is handled in in their ward and in their area. And this is a toolkit for them really to be able to audit those departments in the council. I just had a brief look myself, and it looks extremely helpful. And it means that if you are engaging with your councillors, you've got something to offer. Somebody's done all the work for you. All you need to do is go and talk to your councillors, meet them, and persuade them to take more of an interest in how home education and children missing education is handled in their local council. This is a really good document. I don't know if anyone else has had a look at it yet. Michelle?
There's other people in the background who've supported Randall with this who had a business background in auditing things. So it's a good toolkit if your particular councillors want to know if children's services are working as they should be with home educators. But equally, if your particular councillors who are ones about wanting to save funds, so they can look into where they're doing all these extra things that they're not required to do in law at the moment that costs money, which might mean you get a more lawful service in your area because you'll stop them maybe doing stuff they shouldn't be doing at the moment that actually is on the balance sheet. And then those staff may go to another area that does need support. It's also really important. So this is going with a practical solution to help the councillors do their job as councillors, which is to scrutinise and audit what the council's up to and be there to support. But it's also really important to get the relationship together. We all know the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act will be commencing the home ed bits at some point. And if you've already got a relationship with your counsellor, when it comes to the point if the counsellors are discussing how they implement it in your area, if they go, oh, there's a home ed who contacted me, you might get a better deal because they'll already know someone they can contact who actually knows about home ed. So they won't just be listening to what the officials are telling them. They'll be listening to the real stories, which means you should get a better service on the ground rather than knee-jerk service because people are panicking. How do I implement this? We don't know. So getting to know them now with giving them a tool means they may reach out to you to help them when they're implementing law that we know is not going to be friendly to us. That's why it's really important to get to know those counsellors, and this is a perfect way to do it.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. I'm just even thinking of my own council, and I do know councillors that I can approach. A lot of them are a lot more approachable than MPs. So this is a great opportunity, and we do want to get ahead of the Children's Wellbeing Schools Act being implemented in councils. We want to get ahead of that, because we want that to all be, when it is introduced and implemented, that it is in a measured way, in a sensible way. And I think this toolkit goes a long way towards helping with that. Your challenge over the summer holidays is to try and engage with your counsellor. If you're planning a not back to school picnic for your group in September, then that is another opportunity actually to invite your counsellors to come and join and get to know home educators in the area, and then to build that conversation on with them. So I just want to say that we had a donation, and I think it's our commenter on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for your donation there. It's lovely to see it happening in lifetime. And when we do our online event, it'll be actually a similar kind of thing, where we're going to do this and watch the donations go up, hopefully. So just look out for that announcement. There have been so many consultations, so many, and I think we're all feeling quite overwhelmed with all of the stuff that's been being spewed out by the Department for Education. This is a consultation about the information sharing duty, and parents can complete the consultation. Local authorities can complete it. Anyone can. Doctors can. Anyone can. It's looking at new laws about how information is shared, and this is how we want it to be implemented. What do you think about it? So yeah. Michelle, have you had a go yet?
Yeah, I've had quite a gander at this one. The other bit is where it's not a real consultation, is this is being implemented from September. So apparently they're analysing all this and then addressing it, making the relevant changes to the guidance that is the statutory guidance that starts in September. Take what you will from that. The key bits with this is it is part of the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act was about widening the information sharing. It's really important to respond to this and read it. You don't have to answer every question, but what it's doing is the threshold for information sharing without consent right now for children is safeguarding. It's not for any reason. If it's not a safeguarding reason, there needs to be consent from either the relevant parent or caregiver or the relevant child if they've reached the point where they're their own data subject and GILIT competent. But this changes that altogether. So this basically drops it to promoting welfare, which can be anything. and that's without consent. So this drops the information sharing position from a safeguarding threshold, which I don't think anyone disagrees with. I think everyone agrees that's the correct threshold to share data, to just promoting welfare. You as a parent won't know the data of your child's been shared. Your child may not know the data is being shared, and it can be shared very widely because it's not very restrictive. If you look in the document, you can see it's schools, it's youth services, other organisations. In fact, it's quite worrying when you look through the statutory guidance that they're proposing, that the person who seems to have the least rights about the information sharing of their child is the parent. They don't seem to be featured in there. So if you do get a chance to pop on and get a response in, maybe emphasise the fact that, you know, parental consent is quite important for children's information being shared. So yeah, this web slides, there's a bit where if you go down, it's got all these people in this circle we can share the information with, because it's all just data gathering. So you've got your health, your NHS, your police, your community and voluntary organisations. So a lot more than people instantly think. So you'll see there's loads of people in there that it can be shared of. First of all, consent's important. Don't know why the government seems to think it isn't. But if you're going to say consent doesn't matter, you should have a mechanism to know where your child's data has been shared. Because remember, we're not talking safeguarding here, although it includes safeguarding in it. We're talking promoting welfare. You won't know where that data's been shared. And then if you know, so like in my own data, I know there's loads of things that's wrong on my health records that are incorrect diagnoses that have then been proven to be wrong. I know there's other data on friends' children's ones that is just wrong. It's been recorded incorrectly, but it's not been able to be rectified. That wrong data can now be shared to all these people without you knowing about it. And then that just piggybacks. And there doesn't seem to have been any mechanism for how you can get that data tracked and retracted and removed if it's false or if it's an incorrect record. That incorrect record can go to all of those people about your child, which then makes a profile of your child that might be completely wrong. But no one's thought, oh, if we haven't got the parents to check on consent and we're just sharing it to all these people, how do we check that the information is actually accurate? They've made an assumption that everybody's records are perfect, which, let's be honest, no one's records, wherever you are perfect. So it's really important to address, because I have done a few responses to it. I'm probably going to put one of my responses up on the Fix the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act page this weekend, because I am going to do an action for, there's quite a few consultations at the moment, and this one is in my list. And so I probably will be putting sort of my sort of take on it in there if people need a bit of a help in how they want to answer it. But even if you just answer a couple of questions, just sort of pointing out that, you know, you sort of think parental consent's quite important and you want a mechanism. See, this is the really important bit here. The common law duty of confidentiality does not apply. Now, this specifically has come out of the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act. It was something I was moaning about from the very beginning, because that then means bits in your medical records at the moment, which really are kept safe, that they won't be, because they don't have to be, and it doesn't need to be a safeguarding element.
Would this be a good one to send to those MPs that were mentioning that GDPR will save us?
It's certainly one to sort of copy them in, because but the problem is here they've said data protection law still applies, but what they haven't then mentioned is they've also changed that through the Data Use and Access Act, and they've also changed it through the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act, changes parts of it. And if people have followed the Act fully, there's a section, because of the social media ban, going to be coming in as well, which allows the Secretary of State to adjust things in the Data Protection Act. So it's all very nice saying it still applies, but it still applies however we're changing the law. So the law that we're creating will still apply. It's just called the same law because we're changing it by other laws, which is a normal way of changing law. That's not an unusual thing to do, but it gives a false sense of security. So those MPs genuinely believe, oh, GDPR will save you. What they don't realise is they haven't quite realised how much has changed through other laws to then not save the children's data.
I think the thing is, this also assumes that the people handling your data are trustworthy. There's no guarantee that everyone has good moral character, is not going to be dishonest or use your data in a dishonest way. Once again, it used to be that you could share data if there was risk of significant harm. And that duty is changing. So it's no longer about whether there's a risk of significant harm. It's about like, well, we want to promote the welfare of the child. That could be anything. It's really fuzzy and vague. And
in fact,
so
something I ask all of you to do, Maybe write to your MP and ask them what the definition of promoting the welfare of the child means.
Yeah,
because I
that
was
could be a
on
good
several of the DFE trainings, and they deliberately went for the most wishy-washy word they could get away with to be able to capture anything. So it was deliberately written in to be a capture anything. It'd be interesting to see what your MPs think this specific sentence means.
I can give you a silly example. Like, say, for instance, maybe someone's a nurse in the hospital and they say, you know, well, I want to promote the welfare of this child that was in the hospital by giving them this book because I think this book would help them. And that person could probably then get all the information to go and stop at your house, drop off a book, you know, to kind of like, that is like kind of a throwaway sort of example. But you've got to think, what does it mean? We don't know what it means. And we don't know how much privacy you'll be left with after they're done with it. So this is very, very important. So if you are able to complete this consultation, what is the deadline for it?
It's the 14th. It's not long, 14th.
Okay. So that's your homework for this week. So we gave you homework for the summer holidays, which is to contact your counselors. Homework for this week is to have a go at this consultation as far as you can, but do make sure you understand exactly what the implications are of what they're suggesting here, or not so much suggesting, but planning to implement. Okay, and then we are moving on to some information which is not directly home education related, but it will affect home educators. A lot of us use online resources and that kind of thing for our children. And so I'm going to hand over to Amy here because she's got some stuff to share about the Online Safety Act.
Back in November, a list of the people's sites were meant to be published, and Wikimedia said, we object, there hasn't been a consultation, and so Ofcom delayed the publishing of these sites on their website until today. We don't know if this is the final list that will be used for the social media ban, but we can speculate based on what is currently in these lists of how it's going to affect our children and the way that we educate our children down the line. As we expected, the Group 1 high-end sites are things like Facebook, Instagram, X, and they've added WhatsApp to this list as well, which we were previously of the understanding that WhatsApp wouldn't be included, as they'd added that feature of the parent being able to supervise the child's account. All of this stuff is good information to help inform us of what is likely to be included in the social media ban that is still being wrapped up. We've had the consultation, which was that keeping children safe in the online world, and they're then going to consider this list that has been produced by Ofcom after their consultation and kind of hopefully come up with how they're going to implement this and how they're going to limit each of these sections. So section 1 is supposed to be the high risk. Section 2 is less of an issue. We also have now at the bottom an emerging list. ChatGPT is in that emerging list that they are intending to kind of slot in somewhere to Group 1 or Group 2A and B. It's really important that people go and have a quick look at this, be informed of which direction the government seem to be going in. I was quite concerned when I saw that Indeed, the job site, is also included in this. Fortnite will obviously hit those teenagers hard if that gets significantly limited for under 16s. But you've got things like eBay and Wikipedia and Google, iMessage. All of these things are used by our teenagers for their education and to better understand the world in which they are going to be a part of. So for my son, giving it as an example, on Indeed, we were looking through different job roles and their requirements, their entry requirements, what employers are looking for, so that he knows what qualifications to choose to take exams in so that he is prepared for applying for these jobs. And if that site is limited before he's 16, then how is he going to pick which GCSEs he wants to do for 16? It literally isn't making sense to me. And Wikipedia was the backbone of every essay that I ever wrote in my entire life. So limiting that doesn't seem to make as much sense. We definitely need to be informed on this, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. There is a thread on my page, Ginger Snaps Home Ed Facts. So if you want to contribute to the discussion, please go and visit there and help get the word out there. And on the back of that, say we're doing something about it. We're, fighting back and we're pushing back on the human rights that are affected on the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Act.
Okay, and those are our top stories as far as I know. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Amy, for joining us tonight. And we will see you, I guess, next Friday at the same time. Take care. Bye.